All right, we're talking Summer House, Bravo TV, hit reality show. I've been watching this since season 1, but never did I imagine the show to get this big. Ciara, West, Amanda. Like, did you even imagine Amanda being in this situation all those years ago? But then again, maybe it was kind of always there.
I'm in my bed, just in case I had a visitor. I know, like, this is your last night. Obviously, your friends would probably be pretty pissed off if, like, you didn't end up seeing them tonight. I'm assuming, or no?
I don't know. Like, it is my last weekend, and I don't know if or when I'll see you again.
I don't want Amanda being hurt, but, like, I'm still in the same place that I was in the beginning of the summer. I can't commit to anything.
I'm not expecting anything. Don't worry about it. Don't feel pressure.
All right. I do feel a little, I don't know.
Relax.
You know, and for the most part, just this is a general breakdown of the TV show Summer House. It is a TV show, and all the characters, I hope, will do fine and move on and all that stuff. But Summer House has always been great. You know, Kyle famously said, you know, the summer is supposed to be fun, and Amanda not fun. And now that definitely stings. And just wanting to jump in and give a little opinion or two about this great TV show, again, that I've been watching since season 1, when, of course, Kyle said to Stassi Schroeder that her bathing suit looked like she was Steve Jobs. So the show has always been entertaining and interesting, and it's just such a fascinating scope to be a viewer. From all those years to now. Never thought the show would get this big, first of all. Anyways, real quick, I'm Randomly Ronnie Jr. Go to patreon.com/Randomly Ronnie Jr. if you want more. Tons of episodes, etc., etc. I worked in radio, etc., etc., etc. But right now, let's just focus in on Summer House, okay? I want to talk about Amanda. I want to get to the why, as if I was like a psychology major. I'm not. But I want to get to the why. And yes, I mean, of course, like, this is bad. This breaks girl code or whatever, you know, all the things, she has done that. But it's also created, like, you know, so many opinions around the show. And so I kind of wanted to go down through each of these characters and also what I thought of the seasons overall throughout the years, and break it all down. So first and foremost, I love Summer House. I've always loved the premise. I always thought Kyle was a star on the show, and, you know, it changed so much. You know, Kyle started season 1 very free to go be exciting and live a summer as hard as you'd like it to be, you know. But things have changed, and, you know, then Amanda quickly joined the show. I mean, early. She joined the show early, but she wasn't like on the show. She was like, you know, in the little lower third, as you'll watch on the TV. It says Amanda, Kyle's ex. You know, I guess they dated for 7 months, and then, you know, after Kyle had his fun, then she kind of came back and into it, and then she was always there. So let me say what I think of West and Amanda real quick. Anyways, staying on the early parts of the show, it just is always a fun show. It was just always a fun show. I used to love the show. I used to love I mean, they had, I think, 2 share houses. They maneuvered well. There was the time around 2020 where filming production schedules were different. They made it kind of work. Challenging season because you can't do all the things you would like to do. But, you know, they all did and made it work. And the show really hasn't missed. But again, if you're watching Bravo TV and seeing all these reality shows, you're thinking the Real Housewives franchise is huge. Vanderpump Rules at that time was huge. And I always thought I was like in this viewership of like people who like Summer House, but the show will never get that big. And now now it's like, you know, bigger than ever. I mean, it's just crazy how these shows, you know, have their moments. And these, you know, to Tom Sandoval, Vanderpump Rules, as an equivalent, they have a Scandoval. Now they have Scamanda. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's just a show that I've always loved. Carl has always been interesting, and one thing that makes him interesting is because if you go to the early seasons to the later seasons, he's, of course, overcame elements of sobriety, which is great, you know, and that was a direct relationship with his brother and in a really tough situation. But also seeing, like, to me it's kind of interesting to go back to the early seasons and see, like, Carl was a mess. Like, he was almost on the conceited side, and I love an arrogant person typically, but not when they're a little foggy with the way that they're doing things, you know? And so to see that's growth. That is growth, you know? And so that's really cool. So the show has always been like that. The star of the show to me was always Lindsay, like day one, immediately. And it was a time of reality TV where you showed up and you showed up loud and you made an impact. And so I think it's really cool that Lindsay's been on the show throughout the seasons and is going to move the show essentially to In the City as this big spinoff. And it's funny, when I think of In the City, I think of MTV's The City. To me, The City will always be Whitney Port, Olivia Palermo. Aaron was on the first season, but then Roxy was on the second season. Joe they worked for Joe. Aaron was the publicist who couldn't stand Olivia. Like, that had everything going, but that was coming off of Laguna Beach into the Hills, and then the Hills MTV into The City. So it just kind of maybe didn't have enough steam at that time. But I think it'll be interesting. Not that it's the same kind of show, but I love a New York City backdrop, obviously. Living in New York on and off about 8 years, like, it's just, to me, kind of like the same thing. It was a magical place before I even got there, you know, sort of equivalent to a certain quote there. But so I'm excited to see it. And I'm excited that Lindsay is getting her big moment. In the earlier seasons, it felt like Lindsay was so prominent on the show, and then, like, all of a sudden things slowed down. But that was also because she was maybe aging out. Not that aging out of the, you know, hanging out, but aging out where she was doing different things, having different priorities. And of course, when she did have her scandal with Carl, she ended up pregnant and kind of shifted into a whole new life, which is so great for her. And I think she'll be really, really good in The City. But just for the record, like, I was always like, the reason I love the show as much as I did was through Lindsay. I was always Lindsay fan. Always loved Lindsay. So anyways, the show goes on throughout the years. And then we get to just the show getting really, really big. I am very intrigued, let's say, because I had never, when the show was kind of growing over those years, I had never, especially at the beginning, but even through into the end, had never really seen Paige as a strong cast member on the show. But I definitely feel like she played to the audience and to the right timing. So it's always been amazing. That situation has been amazing to me. And it was of those times when Paige was kind of becoming the star of the show. Lindsay wasn't, that I was watching it and loving the show for sure, but like, it just wasn't, I was like, am I growing too old? You know, I'm over 35, I'm over 40. Like, you just feel like it's not geared towards you, which is also fine. But yeah, but I'm still like really, really, really into the show. I think Summer House is wonderful. And so then you have this big moment, this, you know, as I'll definitely state what it was, whether I liked it or not, like Paige was the show. And then she leaves the show, and there's just such a talk, there's such a rumbling. Like, will the show ever do what it did now that she decided to leave the show? For me personally, I was like, this is great, because I didn't really, I wasn't like excited about a scene that she would have or whatever the case. They were cool, and then I was like ready to watch the next part of the show. So, but the crazy thing is, the question has been answered. That yes, she has left and is cool with everyone. I think she likes all the cast members still, and they like her. But the show got bigger, which is just all in the vein of this huge West, Ciara, and Amanda situation. Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. So, the thing I think to break down is, for West and Ciara, I'm very take it or leave it with them, respectively, as each cast members. I'm very indifferent. They don't move the needle for me, but they also do or don't. Like, I was never like, OMG, I'm a West fan. I mean, I think he made a big impact at the beginning, and I wasn't a huge Ciara fan. But she did Traitors. People really enjoyed her even on that. But none of those two cast members, I was like, oh wow, like Lindsay. So them kind of dating, and then it going where it went, and then it kind of kept circling back season after season. I think it's been like 3 seasons now that essentially it's been kind of are they, aren't they? I mean, this is like Rachel and Ross from Friends, are they, aren't they? So it's been a little, to my viewing patterns, a little redundant. But if they were going to get back together, that is great. And if they weren't, that's also great. Like whatever makes each of the cast members happy, But yes, Wes decides, well, let's really make a scene. And he goes over to Amanda after Amanda gets broken up with Kyle, or they break up mutually or whatever. And we still have not seen that because the current is like, all about, trying to keep this marriage going between Amanda and Kyle. And then we'll see more on the spinoff in the city. So there's just so much there. And then, before you know it, you get this big moment, this big splash, this big headline of like, whoa, Wes decided to get with Amanda, which is already very fishy for so many reasons. It hurts Ciara, of course, but also like, wasn't he so close with Kyle? And so like, you're right there with Kyle, and like, though, Kyle's breaking up with Amanda, like that's tough. But the thing is though, it is, and this is without a defending West at all, it is a TV show, so they are in proximity, and these are maybe the people they are seeing, and I'm not, I mean, like as if they were working at the Piggly Wiggly grocery store, I would say, then, come on. But like, there is a lot of moments, and there's a lot of partying, there's a lot of like camaraderie, and there's also like a bit of a create a scene kind of thing, and sometimes, romances come through. But yeah, it's bad on both ends. It's bad because, West was pretty close with Kyle, and definitely Amanda was close with Ciara, and their relationship was always interesting. Going back and looking back at Amanda, I want to break down what I feel or how I think she got here, because Amanda started the show. Kyle had been with her for 7 months or something like that. He starts the show, and again, season 1, like thinking of it at the beginning, she wasn't in the mix. I mean, he was off doing his thing. He was party time Kyle, Kyle fun, Amanda not fun. Like this is how it started. And so she sort of, comes back, and I'm wondering, this is just a wonder I have. I'm wondering, let's say you're with somebody for 7 months, and then you're kind of maybe every once in a while hanging out, and you know that it's not really going to go anywhere. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But then all of a sudden you catch wind that like something exciting in their life is happening. New job, new apartment, like, maybe let's say for 7 months you've been at their apartment, when you go visit, just spend the night or whatever. And it's a dusty apartment. They got roommates, and then you find out after you broke up, they got like a job promotion. They got a new apartment. They lost 25 pounds. All the muscles in the right places. Like, I'm not saying that that's what happened, but I'm saying like, could that allure have got Amanda to maybe want to come back? Because I've been watching season 1 again, and I'm like, did she ever really want to be with Kyle? And there's also the pressure with the show, like, hey, Kyle, you're getting older, you got to grow up. But it was just an interesting dynamic. It was an interesting dynamic because they started the show as like this 9-year age gap. And I don't think the 9-year age gap is that substantial for the most part, but it does seem like something that overwhelmed Amanda pretty early on. It's this weird thing where she, like, I would even say like pound for pound, age for age, like she would judge Kyle for not growing up or, oh, you're still partying. But like, I don't know, like if she was completely put together at that time. It sort of reminded me a little bit of Austin on Southern Charm with Madison. Now, I like Madison now. I've never seen on these reality shows such a wonderful glow up. Madison did a wonderful job. But I didn't like those earlier seasons with Austin when it'd be like Austin, Peter Pan syndrome, et cetera, et cetera. And it definitely sounds like I'm, backing Kyle being a little less grown up, and also Austin, it's like, come on, randomly, Ronnie, you gotta grow up, and maybe. But my point is, like, I never like it when the person who is giving that, they're not also put together. And I think that early season with Madison, I remember there was at least one season with Madison that I was like, I just don't like her, but she did shift and grow and glow, and she's wonderful. She's one of my favorite people on Bravo TV on that Southern Charm. She's so wonderful for the show. But you get what I'm saying. It's that weird thing. It's like, okay, you are saying it, Amanda, that Kyle's not grown up, but you're only saying it in the basis of you are not that age. But pound for pound, your version of 9 years younger, he was probably like, you get what I'm saying? Like, he was probably a little more, like 9 years later, like, he's further along and happier in life than you will be. So the age has nothing to do with it. You just have the age to play with on your side. And I always thought that was like a funny thing, like she just needs him to be something he's not. But if that was the case, let's take a look at her. Let's put the mirror up. Like, are you completely astute? Are you completely put together? Are you completely, doing well yourself? And I don't know that Amanda ever really was, because there was a lot of stuff going on with her, a lot of pressures, a lot of emotions, but, it is hard too. I'm not going to say that it's not. So that's kind of like the early basis that I feel with Amanda that is sort of missing in all this, is that I don't really know that she went down this lane because it was there. I don't know that she wanted it, because, again, going back, who knows if she even really was interested in him again. There's also the talks of, like, we are making a show, and, would kind of be great to see. There's a lot of that stuff that kind of feels, even if it's not spoken, and I'm not saying that production wants this, but there's the pressures. And, those pressures come through. Lots of pressure can come through, and suddenly you find yourself, like, saying, well, I kind of want to remedy this concept that I'm not grown up. And so Amanda's here, and, like, let's try this out. Because it always felt like they really started with that deficit, always had that deficit going. Now, Amanda here, in my opinion, because, yes, we can say 155 times that she's not a girl's girl and everything she did. And I do think this is like Scandival, but I also think it's like a little bit different as well. I think this is a summer share. This is a party. This is a show. Everyone's kind of doing what they're doing. And I think it's as bad as Amanda creating that distrust with Ciara. I also think Wes creating that distrust with Kyle. I very much feel the same with these things. I really, really do. But it is hugely seeming like Ciara and Wes dated for 100 years, and it's just like Ariana and Sandoval and stuff like that. I don't think that it is exactly like that. No. But Amanda, in my mind, I think there was a part that she played in the demise of her relationship. Now, this is just me throwing something out there that I think, and I always kind of, because I was not a huge, like I said, Paige fan, and everybody was, and sometimes when you're a fan of somebody, you just, like, let it all go, and you're like, oh, I like it, I like everything she does, I like it. And since I wasn't, I was like, oh, what? These are some interesting moves, and it's partially Amanda's fault, mostly Amanda's fault. Amanda had a way about her where, instead of kind of acknowledging, I'm the gal that has a 9-year difference relationship. So, if we're all, like, just having fun in our late 20s and he's, like, in his late 30s, but she did choose to marry him, coming off of, some cheating and all that stuff. She should kind of go and grow with that situation. And what she would do is she would go run and hover with, almost try to get validation from the group. And the group would be like a Paige, like a Hannah, like a Ciara. And I always thought that was interesting. I always thought so much of that show was this weird mix between Amanda, and again, now it sounds like I'm defending Kyle, but it's not what the point is here. But she would always just go run over there. And instead of, I'm not saying that she, this is for me saying, this is how I felt. Instead of saying, like, there's a way you could be a friend with somebody and heed their opinion, like, because Paige, of course, did not like Kyle. Hannah had some issues with Kyle, but Amanda always made that situation a little challenging, is what I thought. And I've been saying that for years. This is not a new thing. I was always like, gosh, it feels almost like you're letting your friends' disdain for him create this thing. And I'm not saying she needs to say, like, stand by him or whatever and, like, ignore some of their commentary. But there was a time where I felt that they pushed a little too much. And at some point, if she doesn't remedy that, they're kind of cutting into the relationship. Something that Kyle would probably be like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. And it did. But, you can't. It's just a situation where it's like, they genuinely were just there for Amanda. But is there that thing where you could be too there for your friend, where you kind of, aren't in favor of your friend's relationship? Like, it's good for me as a friend to tell a friend, oh, I don't know. Did he do this? Did he do, like, to really make sure your friend is taken care of. But it always felt like, I always used to say it like this. I was like, Amanda, they are really on, again, this is just a TV show, but you're thinking like, Amanda, they are not gonna, like, it's almost like they're all in your relationship. Are you having that much access into theirs? That's the first and only thing I ever thought with Amanda and her trying to please those girls. I didn't understand it. I did not understand it. It was the weirdest thing to me, and it kept festering, and it kept festering, and it kept festering, and it was one of the more unentertaining moments of the show. And it happened a lot in different variations. Here I'm watching the show Summer House. I want to see fun Kyle. I want to see crazy Lindsay. And then it was all of these, like, her Amanda sort of creating this own problem for herself. She could have simply took the advice of the friends. Well, and then, hey, I'm going to handle it. Like, this is what I want to do. Because essentially that is a tough situation. So at the heat of it, or at the heart of it, that's where everything was, that was the situation. That was what the situation was. And, and then, of course, like, over time, it isn't great, which is unfortunate. And where it gets interesting is, the sad thing is, Ciara really was there for her. But I also feel like, why did that go on for so long? Like, whoever it was, but it was always like all of these girls were like rallying behind Amanda. And I just don't know that you could rally behind a friend who's choosing to be with the guy. He's that's what she's choosing to stay. And friendships do get compromised. But it felt like Amanda never wanted that. It felt like she always wanted the validation. And so then, by way of this causes, really, really deep friction with the relationship, so much to the point that they decide to break up, Kyle and Amanda. A sad thing. Marriage, a sad, sad thing. And I'm trying to get to the headspace of, like, why, when that breakup happened, did Amanda feel like, okay, the first thing I'm going to run to is West? I mean, that is just incredible. Visually, I would not say stunning, but she liked it, and there's camaraderie and there's good energy. What I think it is is there something here? Let's try this. Something along the lines of, she started in a position with this show, and she had to kind of go down that one lane. And I think she wanted to remedy that. And I think she wanted to be her own person. And I think she wanted to be fun. Again, she had been for season after season telling Kyle, like, oh, it's the going out, the partying. But meanwhile, she did essentially with this, indiscretion of West and Amanda, sort of doing this behind Ciara's back, which is horrible. It's like she became not exciting, but like, I'm making my decisions and I'm throwing it in the wind and we'll see what happens. Like, it felt like she needed that. It felt like all those seasons she kind of needed to be there by way of Kyle. And now the first chance she gets, she's trying something that, caution in the wind. And there is a part of me that says, ooh, she definitely knew girl code, but then there's a part of me that's like, she messed up and then said, oh, like, it's not like, again, I'm trying to say like, oh, Amanda, defending this situation, but I think it's one of those things where you watch these shows and you always see this level of, people will watch like Real Housewives of Potomac with Robin Dixon and Juan Dixon, and it'll be like, oh, she's so dumb, and she's just standing by him, and he don't care about her, and then and it's true, and whatever. We just watching the TV show, we don't know these people, but you're watching the show, and you also got to remember, like, no one's perfect, and chances are there's been a situation where there's some love or some lust, makes you act a little funny. And it's happened, and I know that the Bravo television viewers, fan base, they get real judgy of that. Like, they're perfect. And, like, I will be judgy, too, because it is a TV show. It is for our entertainment. But I'm also like, I don't know if I've always, stood to my, like, well, I'm, you try to get in this headspace of like, this is what I'm worth. But, sometimes when, the calling is calling, you get excited and, you drive back. We're seeing a situation too on Real Housewives of Rhode Island with Rulala. She is easy to watch on the show and be like, oh, she's so silly, she's so loyal to him, and he don't care about her. I don't know. I just feel like I'm a person who doesn't try to judge that because I don't know people's relationships and what they want to be with and who they want to be with and who they want to stand by. Switching this back to Amanda and Summerhouse, like, I kind of feel like she unwillingly made this decision. It just happened, like, so it's so easy for us all to say, like, she should have, like, assessed girl code and then not made the move. I think she just felt a feeling. I won't say she was the good girl, but she was on a certain path, and she was, like, feeling it, and she wanted to, throw caution in the wind, and it was at that point that she goes, she probably, like, really understood that was a very, you really don't do that to your friends, like, that's horrible. But I'm just trying to get a little sense of, like, yeah, you'd be pissed for sure, absolutely, but coming into the show, being allured by Kyle, who knows if she ever really liked Kyle, but Kyle also on the show needs to grow up. Everything was convenient. They get married. It's just kind of like you get on you get on this lane and you take it all the way till you can't, and you're trying to ride that same lane forever, and all of these little emotions you're bottling up. Once you do break up, you don't make wise and sound decisions, and that's really, I think, what happened. So yeah, I was not trying to do this episode for a, like, oh, let me break down why Amanda's actually in the right, but I was more like looking at what the 10 years of the show look like and watching those early seasons and saying, because again, I couldn't do no up-to-date minute by minute. I mean, this show is just like nonstop. And again, it's fun to watch a show weekly, see them on some podcasts. I like that. But it's become way too stimulating. I miss Summer House from the beginning. The slower, you watch it every week, you check in and with the show, and oh, isn't that fun? And then you go on with your day-to-day. But it's become like every 4 seconds there's another, well, Andy Cohen said this, and then there's a spinoff being greenlit and then canceled, and then Amanda said this, and then Kyle's making music. It's so, Ciara's on the Dancing with the Stars. It's so much with this show. It's becoming a 24/7 experience to like Summer House. And listen, I've liked it since season 1. I liked it since it was a spinoff, essentially through Vanderpump Rules, or a version of a spinoff, when the Workus sisters went to go meet with Stassi, and Stassi came back with them, and then they kind of merged that into the house. I've loved the show, but I like it on a week by week basis. So I was looking at it, I was like, I've done 1,500 episodes on wonderful pop culture stuff. I've worked on radio for 15, 20 years and all these things, and I have not touched Summer House. I've not really gotten to get here, because every time I was like set to do a Summer House breakdown here or episode, like 16 different things changed in the hour, and I was like, okay, then let's not do that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of break down, what the show has always been, where the show needs to go, and that's something we could talk about in a second, and just like what it is to kind of perform in these shows too, because this is not easy. It is just so easy. I'm thinking about it like when you were, let's say, season 1 for someone like Kyle, you did the show, there was a lot of chatter, of course, social media and stuff of that nature, but now it's so much more implemented into the show, and all that chatter sometimes slows things down, and so it's just really such a whirlwind. But 10 strong seasons, I believe all the cast members made a lot of good money, and that's great too. So it's a fun show to watch, but this was just a perspective that I can kind of come in and say, I wonder, noting for sure that Amanda was horrible for doing that, noting that West was horrible for doing that as well, and it hurt a lot of people. But it's like, where who knows where it will all go. But the important thing is, it's tough. It's just sometimes it's like. The show is just a show, and to get so invested in it, it's just a show. It's a job essentially. Like, this is a job essentially, and you wouldn't be worked up if you worked at the Piggly Wiggly grocery store and at 5:55 you were waiting till 6 p.m. and at 6:02 they're like, oh, you need to go do something else. No, 6:02, clocked out, I'll see you. And with these shows now, Summer House, Bravo TV, all the podcasting and narratives that go on, it's really, really difficult. So I was like, ultimately, here's the thing. You want Ciara to do wonderful on Dancing with the Stars, and that will lead to this, and this. So she will, of course, somebody who started off as a nurse, which is one of the things with Ciara, which is interesting, because, again, I said that I'm very indifferent to Ciara. She's never really jumped off the page for me. She was a little bit more on the shy side, but the things that are great in quality, outside of, style is, of course, great. And, she was a nurse, though. And I think that's just even such a different perspective, too. As for my work career, kind of put me in an odd situation. I sort of gave up everything and went nothing but into broadcasting of that time. Because at that time, back in early 2000s, 2002, 2003, 2004, if you were going to select an opportunity or an occupation like this, you had to essentially turn away other opportunities. And so sometimes knowing where it all ended up, I wish I'm at 22, 23, 24, 25, I could have done something else, stacked up something else and done really well for myself. And then I could have just also did, let me just kind of create and build a brand of my own, like a lot of people have done. That way you have a career that's behind you. So the one thing that I think is valuable is that Ciara does have a career that is behind her. It's so admirable. It's a great career. I feel I don't have that, and that's a really sad thing. I did it the opposite way. Again, when I was making my choices work-wise, it was you had to give up everything to go do this thing, and you had to be in a space that okay, you may or may not succeed there, but these are the people that are going to do it, because there were only 15, 20 networks at the time, and everything had to kind of be done in this space. So my timing of success has been quite challenging, and it gets frustrating, but it does have me have a open look on even things that I would want for my life now that I don't necessarily have. I think, again, Ciara, entertainment wise, doesn't always jump off the page, but likability, she does. And that's something that you only say when you really respect somebody. The show itself, she very, very much reserved. When she did Traitors, very much reserved. But now, she stayed consistent, and I like her 155 times more than I've ever. Paige and Ciara, Paige and who's the other gal? Hannah, those successful, and this is again to that point of timing, it's incredible because those two, wow, entertaining wise, it's just so fascinating that they found a way to amass such intrigue. And it's certainly intrigue that I don't see. But I didn't have that problem with Ciara. I liked Ciara, but again, she was a bit more on the indifferent side. West, a little bit more on the indifferent side. Very happy to see him succeed. You know, like I said, I worked at Complex Media. He worked at Complex Media, or does. And, you know, like just, you know, I know those offices and I know kind of a little bit of the operation. I was only there for one little project for about 6 months. But the point is, like, you know, it's exciting to sort of, I think they covered it also, you know, in Summer House. Oh, he's got a job at Complex Media. And, you know, that does do really well and stuff like that. But West doesn't really move much. He seems like a fun guy. Now he's sort of dug himself into another lane that, you know, his likability is not really going to be there. His likability is not going to be there for a little bit. I wonder what's going to happen going forward. Like, you know, it does seem like the best bet, as it's mostly being said, is that West and Amanda try it out. Try it out. I mean, where do you, because you can't go backwards. Like, you're not going to, Amanda, you're not going to be close with Ciara again. I mean, Ciara may at some point extend the olive branch, but like the friendship is not going to be what it was. Amanda, you know, went through all of this, and Kyle really, even with the breakup, was right by her side. And now that's gone. I mean, it's just like, you know, in many ways, Amanda now has West. She's turned it all over to one person, and that person is the strapping West and the good-looking West and successful West. I mean, it is a as Tatiana said on one season, on the All-Star season, choices, if you're familiar with the reference. But anyway, yeah, so that's just a couple like Summer House thoughts. I don't know. I think, like, again, try not to judge. Like, you know, we can judge because it is a television show for the viewers, but I think the points that are being made are probably the best ones, which is, even though this, because that's what I was saying, like, this is the biggest thing that's going on in terms of this TV show, but season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, great. And what is being developed, some of these new characters, I can't remember, starts with a K, KJ, is it KJ? KP, who West brought into the show, he's fascinating. Dara, she's fascinating. Bailey, fascinating. So the show's premise still works for the future, but like right now, all of the energy is kind of put into, you know, this Scamanda thing, and like, it's cool, but I'm ready for newness where it's not just like the same, which I believe the reunion will be that way. Looking at In the City, may I just say, I have always loved Danielle, the CEO and co-founder. So while she was not always likable, you know, me and Summer House, like watching this show, my taste level for the show, I guess I didn't do really well, because I always liked the people, first instinct, except Lindsay, that I was like, cannot get enough of that person. And they like never did that great on the show. Okay, so some of those people are. Big fan, Chris Leone, star. Why is Chris Leone not on the show? Jason, the Jason that went to go date Giselle from Real Housewives of Potomac for a little. Why is he not on the show? Remember, and he actually may have almost been in the mix with Lindsay, if we remember. Jason, why is he not on the show? Gabby, huge Gabby fan. How is Gabby not on the show? So when I see that In the City brought back Danielle, it gives me like a lot of like hope as a viewer to be like, oh wow, I hope like some of my favorites end up on that show. Sam, was it Sam? Little Sam, who, how, remember, I mean, this is all obnoxious nothingness, but remember, Sam, I believe she brought, we'll say she bodied, you know, the same guy, I think his name was Josh, the boxer, who Madonna was having a tryst with, you know, and like she got one season. Of course, then she did try to date the Corey or Cody from Southern Charm, Craig's friend, and I mean, I guess that's like the Belding Buddy Bands situation of her career on the show. But what I'm saying is I liked all these people. Sam, I loved. Gabby, I loved. Chris Leone, I loved. There's more. And Danielle, I loved. And it's like all the people I loved, they just really didn't work and win on this show, except for Lindsay. Lindsay was the only one that I was like, I love Lindsay. And Kyle. I mean, he had a little hiccups, but he still maintained. But yeah, a lot of the people that I really, really liked, like from day one, like they were consistent. They did not really do that well, unfortunately. And then you got like people like Paige, which I was like, episode 1, scene 1, frame 1, I was like, oh, this is not going to go nowhere. This is like, I could not believe it. I couldn't believe like this cannot be what success is in this current landscape, but it is. So that, it's not a bad thing, but it, sucks as well. Nonetheless, who cares? There's no point in being frustrating in that, because these are television characters and they're all trying to do well and make money, and I think it's all good stuff, generally speaking. But yeah, I like Summer House, and I want to see more and more seasons, and maybe some spinoffs could be good. The premise is there. The premise of Jersey Shore sort of set that tone. I mean, and even just what people do when they go to shares, that's great. I love all of that. Not necessarily thinking they would have to jump into doing a winter house so soon, but maybe a winter house kind of reemerges. One thing about the summer house that I think the early seasons versus the new seasons, I don't know, the parties are so over the top now, but like I feel like you're not getting a lot. Like, is that becoming a distraction? It's tough because you can never go backwards. The summer house parties, like themes, like visually great, but I feel like there's not a lot of substance usually. So I think there needs to be more of that going forward. But this is just like constant summer house love, and I want all the cast members to do a great job. It'll be interesting. West and Amanda sitting in a tree. Kissing. Ciara winning Dancing with the Stars. I mean, it's just, where will it go? Kyle winning a Grammy. I mean, what is going to happen at this point?